Welcome everyone to Old Roommates. This week on the show, we revisit 1985's Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So, lock up your bike good and tight and get ready for an all-new episode.
Welcome everyone to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And we revisited Pee-wee's Big Adventure this week. And we began our episode as we always do. Brian, what is your history with Pee-wee?
Sure. So this released August 9th, 1985. And so really, it's interesting. I saw this movie with my cousin Rob. Rob is no longer with us. But I remember so vividly, we sat in the movie theater and it was about to start. And Rob said to me, he's like, "This is going to be the funniest movie we will ever see." And I'm going to be really honest because I remember like it was yesterday. And because had he not said that, I mean this from my heart, I don't know if I would have enjoyed the movie as much because Pee-wee at that point was kind of like, I don't think you really knew who he was. He would go on like David Letterman and like late night shows and he was like a stand-up comic kind of character. But you don't necessarily know what a movie of him would be like. So I was so glad Robbie had said that to me because it put me in he was so excited and I didn't even know what I was getting myself into being 13 but he was only a year older and he was like, "This movie's gonna be amazing." So I think because he had so much excitement for it, like I was like, that was kind of infectious. So I truly laughed and laughed and laughed, and some of the humor, particularly the scene in the basement where he's going through all the evidence.
Oh my God. Yes.
I was like, oh my God, like that, the comedic timing, the directing, all of it. I don't know if I've truly, at that point in my life, I don't think I've ever laughed that hard at a movie than that scene. I remember it so clearly, but I loved it.
So how did you feel about it?
I hated it. No. Christina, how about you?
So I remember watching this. I did not see it in the movie theater. I saw it on probably HBO or whatever. We always say that, right? It was probably like HBO. Everybody had HBO back then. And so what's funny is I literally just looked this up because as you were talking, so I wasn't listening to a word you were saying.
Awesome.
I'm just kidding. But I looked it up because I thought this was a movie based on Pee-wee's Playhouse. But that's not the case.
No, it's not the case at all. Pee-wee's
Playhouse came out in 86.
Yeah.
So that is surprising to me. I think I saw the movie after Pee-wee's Playhouse, though.
Interesting.
So
that makes sense. Because it came out like a year later, so... And then so the movie would have come out on VHS or on cable probably a year and a half or 2 years, 2 years later, probably.
Yes. It wasn't like I watched Pee-wee's Playhouse all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember when I was in school, in college, we would watch it. And every once in a while.
Pee-wee's Playhouse. You'd watch Pee-wee's Playhouse in college.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And we found it hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember watching like Pee-wee's Playhouse, and I truly enjoyed this movie. I thought he was just such a breath of fresh air, and he's kind of a multi-layered character in that on the surface he seems like just a da-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da. But he has some personality to him. Yeah. He has emotions. He's not always happy. He has his these things that are important to him that he's willing to fight for and things like that. So I just thought it was really, really funny. Fresh, exciting, funny.
Yeah.
And again, like some of those scenes were just so different and it's just so well written and just so over the top that you just can't help but laugh about it.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed it.
And it's great. And it's funny. So this is directed by Tim Burton. This is his feature film debut. He had made Frank and Weenie and some other short films. But written by Paul Reubens, who is Wee Herman, of course, and then Michael Varhol and Phil Hartman.
Yes.
It was so nice to see his name and him in the movie. Yeah.
And I had not known a few things that you just muttered until last night. I hadn't realized it was a Tim Burton movie.
Mm-hmm.
When we, first put it on, I'm like, oh my gosh. And Matt, my husband Matt.
Yeah.
And my daughter Emily, she especially is a huge Tim Burton fan.
Oh, wow.
And so Matt was like, oh, Emily. And we were just talking about A Nightmare Before Christmas and all this. And Beetlejuice is a huge, we're big.
Yeah.
She's
I
a
knew
huge
that. Yeah.
Tim Burton fan. So Matt had said to Emily, like, hey, Emily, it's Tim Burton. And I'm like, what? I had no idea till last night. And then when Phil Hartman showed up in the movie, Matt also told me, oh, Phil Hartman wrote this. And I'm like, what? So I learned 2 new things last night.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about either one of those
But now
things.
that you know that Phil Hartman had a role in the writing of this, it feels a little like that,
Absolutely,
right? Because
it
through my
does.
middle-aged lens, I was like, oh my God, because I don't, to be 13, I don't think the name Phil Hartman would have meant much to me at that point.
Probably wouldn't have known who he was, yeah.
Right, and so it's like, but now it's like, oh, you can really kind of feel his stamp on some of the dialogue and the timing on this.
Definitely.
But so the Pee Wee Herman show was his essentially I think one-man show in 1980, and this was he had the midnight show in L.A. and the Groundlings that sketch group. He I think went on after them, or he was somehow affiliated with them. I didn't do too much research, but he had the show for essentially a few years before, or a couple years before he started getting on the late night circuit and doing his stand-up stuff and just being hilariously himself, this character. And so that's where how the movie sort of came to be. So my very first note is definitely a middle-aged lens, but I never noticed that he brushes his teeth before
I noticed
breakfast.
that too. I noticed that
I
too.
never
What
ever
is he
noticed
doing?
it. Yeah.
It reminded me of Jen, because Jen, she brushes her teeth as soon as she wakes up. I don't know if she still does.
Okay.
But I remember Emily noticing that, and she's like, why did you brush your teeth before you ate? She's like, I don't know. It's just something I always do.
That's so funny.
I know.
I mean, sometimes I might rinse out with mouthwash.
Yeah,
or
I mean, if you had a really heavy night the night before.
Yeah. Mr. T cereal. This is very funny. So I did some research after, and this is how old we are, Christina.
Oh my gosh.
Someone wrote, Mr. T cereal was a real cereal then. I'm like, oh my God.
Was
Yeah, because of course it was. But there are absolutely people in this world that might think that is a made up joke just for the movie.
right.
But what was so funny is I caught it then when I was a kid, and I obviously caught it now, that he takes a bite?
One little bite. I
He goes
know.
through all this effort with this.
I love the whole breakfast making machine.
And
I thought that was really, really funny. I love the whole house. The whole house is so fun. Who doesn't want to live in that house, right?
I have that same note. It's like the love, and this is kind of a thing. It's like at least in that before the bike gets stolen, the love he feels, the love he has for life, for waking up in the morning, for breakfast, for his dog, for everything he sees every day is fresh, and it's he's so appreciative, and
that's a great word for it.
His own life brings him so much laughter and joy. What a message,
right?
I mean, it's like one of those things where I'm like, wow, and that is a middle-aged lens. To just be so appreciative and fortunate and lucky to be like, I woke up today, yay, and start laughing and clapping. And his toys, he plays with his toys every morning. I mean, that is such an interesting thing to observe as an older person now.
Yes. So I think he's just living his life like a child.
I would respectfully disagree, because I think he's living his life like a child on Christmas Day. I don't think he's living his life as a child every day. As an everyday child. I'm going to switch that. I don't think I don't have children, but my guess is that most little kids don't wake up every morning excited to see the world and to play with their toys and eat breakfast. That's just my take.
I respectfully disagree with you.
Let's hear it.
I think the reason why they're not getting up all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed is because their parents are waking them up and saying, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do that. If they lived on their own, if children lived on their own, of course, you wouldn't want that because it's unsafe. They would wake up when they wanted to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
They would wear what they want to wear. They would do what they want to do. They would eat what they want to eat. They would eat how much they want to eat. They would play with their toys. Like, look what he did. He rolls out of bed and he walks by like 3 different toys. He plays with each toy for like 10 seconds. Or not even, probably 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And he's happy. And then he makes his cereal the way he wants to make it. And then he just takes one bite and he walks away and he's ha 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 ha. He has that gusto for life because he doesn't have anyone telling them what to do. I think if children didn't have anyone telling what to do, I think they'd be just as happy.
Wow, that is deep. Please address your emails to Christina.
It's fair. I mean, listen, emails.
You are a teacher and you are a parent,
Yes.
so you might be better connected. I mean, I get that he's a man-child, but I think that specific note I might challenge. Well, I did challenge it, didn't I?
You sure did.
I did love that he had one bite and dabbed his mouth with the napkin. And then we meet Francis, who I swear to God, on my life, for $1 million on a game show, I would have said his name was Clarence. I don't know why. It's like, if someone said, what's his arch nemesis neighbor, I would have been like, oh, that's Clarence. But it's not. It's Francis. And when Francis tells him, I mean, first of all...
Which is funny, because I feel like it's such a burned memory of him just being like, Francis.
Totally.
Like, I would never think of him as a different name.
I made a mistake, Christina.
I would never in a million years make one of those mistakes.
But a big note here. The whole cast is game. They are so excited to be in this movie. They are doing so much with their roles, and it never feels like someone's trying to steal the movie from Pee Wee Herman.
No, it never does.
They are just doing their thing. Bringing their best,
They're just being their character.
So good.
Yes.
I almost said Clarence.
Oh my.
Francis is telling him about his dad, and his dad says he can have anything for his birthday, and he says, "I want your bike," and Pee Wee responds by getting off his bike and falling, throwing himself to the ground, laughing,
hysterically
and
laughing.
I laughed out loud a lot at this movie.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. I was surprised at how often I was
Oh
laughing,
my God. There's so much. I actually have a lot of notes, but it's just dialogue. It's almost like, it reminds me of Clue a little bit.
Yes.
That when we were visiting Clue, it's like all my notes are dialogue. But it's, but I will say one thing, and if anyone that has seen this movie a lot remembers, in the movie theater, and I believe on cable, when he is tying the chain to the clown.
Yep.
Do you remember this? You can see it's a gaff in the movie, the chain being fed up from the compartment on the bike.
Yes,
you remember this? Yeah. Did you see it this time?
I did not see it this time.
No, me neither. Did you see it on DVD at the library?
I saw it. No, I saw it on Vudu.
So the DVD doesn't have that. They edited that out. But
so
I remember...
I didn't see it on Vudu.
Okay, yeah.
It was not on Vudu.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yes, isn't that so funny?
Yeah, you could see it from underneath.
It was like glaring, and this time they fixed it, so I'm glad. The bike wipeout, I meant to do that, which is an iconic line from this movie.
Oh, that's amazing, yes.
And then...
Well, a lot of these lines, I just love it. Even
just
like with the fighting, I know you are what I am. I know you are what am I? I know you are. But, like, all of these childish fights and attitudes and all that, they made me laugh every freaking time. Every freaking time. And that I meant to do that was hilarious.
And then we meet Dotty.
Really
quick. I know we usually save this for the end, but original casting ideas: Laura Dern, Leah Thompson. Can totally picture Leah Thompson.
Yes.
And Lori Loughlin.
I can't picture Laura Dern at all.
Let's see. So, and I laughed out loud again.
Well, let me give you a little trivia.
Yeah.
And this is something, again, I mean, Matt, you knew a lot about this movie. Do you know what other movie Dotty was in? She made almost like a little cameo. We have not revisited, but it's from the 80s.
Oh, I don't know.
She was in the band in Better Off Dead.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And Matt was like, he's like, before we even put it on, he's like, Dotty, what was she? She did other things. And I was looking it up, and I'm like, well, not really a whole lot. But then all of a sudden he's like, I think she was in Better Off Dead. I think she was in the band. And I'm like, what? And I looked it up, and I'm like, yes, you were right.
Funny.
Isn't that so funny? I was so impressed.
She does a lot of, I think, cartoons, like animated
She does.
things.
That's her big thing, the voiceovers. Yep.
I kind of said, I didn't know this. So I fell into a little Pee Wee Herman, trivia hole with this. She dated John Eric Hexum. Do you remember that name? He was like this really hot male model, and made him into an actor, and they gave him this TV show called Cover Up, and I believe it was him and Jennifer something. But the thing is, it had just started. It was season 1, and they were filming, and he was accidentally shot.
Oh my God.
There was something in the gun, and it was supposed to be a blank, and it shot him, and he died.
I feel like you have had this story and different. Not that I'm not saying you made it up, but the way I just said that, it sounded like
no. You're thinking of the Twilight Zone with Clue. With
it just feels like there's a lot of those stories around.
Yeah, these accidental on set deaths, and he was one of them, and it was really sad because he was like in the he was just in the hottest actor male model going on, and she was dating him at the time, so much so that when Pee-wee passes out on the bikes, she turned white as a ghost, and from what I understand, they had to sort of like take a break because it was that emotion was coming back for her.
It's sad.
All right, but what is funny is when she's flirting with him desperately, which is just funny in itself.
It's so
but she's like,
funny.
He's like, Dotty, look, Dotty, I like you.
I
like you. Oh my God, so funny. And then I did love the directing of the footsteps leading up to the broken chain.
And then you get the broken chain
and then
pieces.
The bag drops.
And you don't even
so damn funny.
Oh God, it's hilarious.
So funny.
It's so good.
And then all the bikes everywhere.
Everyone's on a bike. Laugh. Every single person's on a bike. I did feel like it was a tiny bit too long, but I loved every minute of it anyway. It was all these bikes, and then he's sitting, and you see all the different types of bikes going past him, the little bikes, the big bikes.
And all the bike wheels behind him. It was amazing. And then it cuts to a very kind policewoman saying, what exactly leads you to believe the Soviets were involved? And that is another note I have about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Everyone's nice to him, except Francis. I just catch that out to my notes again, not Clarence.
Yes, everybody is nice to him.
And because truth be told, it's not dissimilar from a type of Ace Ventura situation, and that was a problem we had with Ace Ventura, where it was like, why is no one like calling him out as this weirdo?
Right.
But here it kind of works. Like, they're accepting Pee-wee just for being this man-child character, and everyone is like hearing him out. They're listening. And it's really nice. It's very nice to see.
He is being treated, and I mean this in a positive way, like a child.
Yeah.
So people are being nice to him because when you are listening to a child tell a story, you're nice to them.
Yeah.
And I see this like throughout the whole entire movie he is acting like a child, and people are treating him like a child in a positive way. Sometimes when you say you're treating me like a child, it's not a good thing, but it is a good thing in this movie.
Pee-wee trying to break out of the bathroom window at the Buxtons will always make me laugh. He's so dramatic. It is a fleeting second of cinema time, and he is so dramatically trying to open that window. It is so damn funny.
It's so damn funny. He is so good in this.
Kind of weird, just against my middle-aged lens squeaking in, but Francis's thug could have made $10,000.
Yes.
That is never even said. Like, and then I know Pee-wee's point is like, well, whoever stole it, or whoever returns it, obviously stole it, and they're not going to get a dime from me.
Yep.
But the thug doesn't know that.
No, he doesn't.
He could have just been like, see you later, sucker. And it's like, well, he could have just turned it in and said, leave me $10,000 and you'll get your bike back. And then maybe Pee-wee could have raised some money and made a deal.
The exhibits and all that, you mentioned it earlier, it was just such a funny scene. I love the fact that he's like, and this pen, and someone's like, well, what's the significance? I don't know.
Christina, I rewound it 3 times because I kept laughing and missing stuff.
Oh my
The
gosh.
basement, I wrote the basement meeting is A+. I really believe in my heart of hearts this is one of the funniest scenes for me in a comedy I've ever seen. Just everything is so dramatic. Oh, good. We can finally start the big meeting. Like he's so pissed off.
so-
Everyone's being so helpful
He's
to him,
so
and he's
mad
so
at
mad.
life.
He is so mad. We have lost Wee Herman. He is so mad.
Yes.
His childhood innocence is destroyed by this missing bike.
And he's
stolen
yelling
bike.
at Dotty, who is like
Oh my God.
more helpful than anybody. She just likes him so much, and
Dotty and Chuck have barely sat down. He's like, "Let's begin, shall we? Shall we?" And Dottie like jumps back and falls backwards in her chair. It is so funny. His timing is amazing. And then he's like, and they cut in this like, okay, so Exhibit A is him and his bike. Exhibit B is a picture of him without his bike. And then he's like, and then it cuts and he's like, Exhibit Q. But when he shows the picture of without a bike, he's like, someone in the group, Crazy Larry is his name for some reason. He's like, he whispers something, and he's like, "Have something to share with the rest of us, amazing Larry." And he's like, all. He just cuts this guy with this mohawk, and he's like all scared. It is so funny, and then he blares the bike horn from Chuck's bike-o-rama, like filled with accusations.
So much
Everyone
venom.
is a
So
suspect.
much venom.
And then he presses the horn, and everyone goes flying back.
Oh my gosh!
And they cut back to him, and his hands are shaking
because he's so angry.
he is so mad, and it is so damn funny.
Oh, good Lord!
And then like you said, supposed to mean, and then he snaps the stick. And the little dog is like, "Brr." Oh my God, it is so... I can't stop talking about that scene. It's so funny.
It's so funny.
So then it cuts, and it's just one funny thing after another. It cuts to a torrential downpour, and he's walking through the alley, and the gang shows up, and he's like, "Hey, who are you? We don't take kindly to strangers." And Pee-wee goes...
They scatter.
And they run.
And then we get to the palm reader.
Madam Ruby.
He just throws all his cash on the table.
Did you see what the sign said before that?
What does it say?
The palm reading, tarot cards, tax preparation.
Oh, tax preparation. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh God. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he puts all the money on the table. Go ahead,
puts all the money on the table, and he, obviously she's fake and a phony, and she's looking at the pictures, and yeah, I mean, it's just. And then he gets this glimmer of hope. He's at the Alamo.
So this took me many years to get this joke. So she wants his money, and he says, "No, tell me why I'm here first." And she says, "You're here because you want something." I never caught that joke. For like years and years and years, I never caught how funny that line is. I never understood. I never caught it. It is so damn funny. And again, great performance from her. Everyone, once again, is really bringing it to their roles.
Everyone.
Very funny.
Everyone. And so then that was one thing I kind of forgot. Like, how did he know where to look for this bike? Because it's been a while since I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to find the Alamo and look in the basement because of this tarot card reader guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he is hitchhiking.
Mm-hmm.
And he meets Mickey.
Love. I love Mickey's intensity.
Mickey is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that they become friends. I love that he feels like he's equal with Mickey because, he's also just, now he's like basically a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right?
A rebel.
On the run. A rebel. Love it so much. It's very unexpected because you see him in the car with Mickey and he has the
broken handcuffs. Yeah.
And you think that Pee-wee's going to be afraid.
Yeah.
But he's like, "What'd you do?"
Yeah.
And they just become friends. Yeah. And it's so damn funny.
Judd Omen is quite the name. Judd Omen is the actor, and it starts right away where he's like, thanks, been trying all day. And he floors it and his whole head like flings back. And then he talks to Mickey and he's like, and he says something, he's like, oh, like the thing about the mattress, cutting the tag off.
Cutting the tag on the oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Life can be so unfair. And Mickey goes, you telling me? I'm so angry. And it's like, but it's like you're saying, it's like that connection. They're connected through being rebels, but also being really angry at something that has happened in their life. And the facial expressions, I just loved Mickey so much. Then another really funny laugh, then and now, is the road signs when Mickey is sleeping and Pee-wee is driving. And then out of nowhere it says falling rocks, and it's literally falling rocks. And they crash. It's like just one setup after another. And I would say probably 90% of them are really...
They're funny.
They work. They still work. Really funny.
Fun stuff. One observation that Emily made while we were watching this was somewhat near the beginning. She said, he sounds just like SpongeBob. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, I'm not a big SpongeBob person, as you can attest to. Remember that trivia game that we... So I'll tell the story real quick.
Yeah. Right.
We were auditioning for a
VH1
trivia show. And we were studying. We had trivia books, all these books, constantly like testing each other and everything just to prepare ourselves. And it was the morning of. You guys were all in the other room watching SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah. And I gave you a hard time. I'm like, you guys, we're going to be auditioning in like a few hours. Like, we should be studying. Mm-hmm. And you guys basically, I don't know, told me a polite way to shut the fuck up or something. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. And so the first part of the test was a written test. It had like 10 questions on it. Yeah. And one of the questions was, what was SpongeBob's friend's name?
Starfish name. Yeah, friend's name. Yeah.
And I did not know.
The one I got wrong, I remember this like it was yesterday, actually. The one I got wrong was, it was an Elton John lyric, and I guessed the wrong song.
Oh,
that was the only one I got wrong. So, Emily is exactly right. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I was watching this, I was like, oh my God, SpongeBob owes a lot to Wee Herman. Yeah. The just like that blind optimism. Yep. And the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, the first one with Alec Baldwin and Scarlett Johansson, they do some of the voices in it. That movie is so great. That is a really great little adventure animated movie. I love that movie a lot. And yeah, completely right. It's like that. It's the same disposition, temperament, and and it's also that desire to be a rebel. Sure. Because he didn't get the job, and he was all bent out of shape about it, and that kind of starts their road trip too. So. It's similar. It's great, yeah.
And I never put it together, but it sounds the same. It's like the same voice.
Yeah, the voice is very similar.
There's a lot about it. Yeah.
But you should check out that movie. It's so good.
Maybe I will. I'm a little resentful.
Let's see. Another funny thing. We can't forget Large Marge.
Yes, but it was funny watching Large Marge. Even Matt said this as well. That scene is about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
You remember it longer.
Yes. Yeah. That's what Matt was saying too. He's like, I felt like that scene was about 10 minutes long.
Longer and much creepier when you're younger.
Yes. Yeah.
And we weren't even all that young.
The face was like scarier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I remembered it. Well, it was
but it was like a jump scare.
Shock.
It was a jump scare.
Jesus.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that was it. So, and this is an observation I made. So, like I said, I never knew it was Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Until last night or whatever when I watched it. There's a lot of Tim Burton-ish stuff in here. And it was like watching it now knowing, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the dream sequences.
Before we started it, I'm like, this is Tim Burton? Mm-hmm. I never would have guessed it. Knowing that, watching it, you can see Tim Burton stamped all over it. Yeah. All over it. And one of those is that Large Marge turning into the crazy thing. That is that was like Beetlejuice all over the place.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't even mentioned a lot of. I almost was just constantly writing down what was happening on screen at the time. Like, but he's so funny. What's the problem, officer? Oh my god! But anyway, then he meets, and this is through my middle-aged lens. This stuff works so much better as an older person. The Simone subplot, because when I was younger, this was like the snooze fest of the movie, but. Wow, is it so meaningful? Like, he's really, like, she has one dream. She wants to go to Paris. And, and she's like, but, and Pee-wee says, Simone, everyone I know has a big butt.
That was very cute.
Very cute. And he really does push her to go.
Yes. And that was sweet. I will say, at this point... Yeah. I feel like from this point forward...
It slows down.
It slows a lot down for me. And a lot of the laughs aren't there.
They're a little spread apart.
It's a little spread apart. And I was kind of watching it thinking, is it because we're just expecting more? Is it because, like, it was just so fresh at the beginning of the movie? The first half of the movie was just so fresh. And now we're getting too used to it. I couldn't figure out what it was. But definitely slowed down for me.
Yes.
At this point, and even through the, when he's in the Alamo, and I mean, there's still some good laughs. Like, oh, we're in Texas. You don't believe me? And it's like
the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas.
That was really, really funny. There was another reference to Deep in the heart of Texas, and then when he was like, I went to the Alamo, and they were like, yeah, like
no, I remember
that part of it.
He was like,
really
what do you remember? Because he got thrown off the
I remember the Alamo. Right.
The Alamo, yeah.
So, but yeah, from that point on, it was a little bit less enjoyable for me. The pacing
definitely changes, and I don't know if they thought this is too much. Let's slow this down a little bit.
Yeah.
But get this. This is a little bit of trivia that. When they were the writers were hired to make an actual movie, none of them had written a screenplay before. And they ended up buying a book by Sid Field, S-Y-D is his first name, Field is Field, of how to truly called, how to write a screenplay.
Oh my gosh, how
and
funny
they followed it to a T. So it's like, it's split up like 30, 60, 90. So it's like the first, third of the movie creates the tension and sets off the adventure, the midpoint, blah, blah, blah. So I guess... allegedly, this movie is shown to screenwriting majors as kind of a perfect screenplay with storytelling. I don't know, because I agree with you that when he actually gets to Simone and all that stuff, it does really slow down.
Yes.
And I also found it interesting because I found more of the laughs. Pee-wee wasn't getting those laughs. It was the other characters, like the Jan Hooks.
Oh, God,
I miss Jan Hooks so much. Holy shit, was she underrated.
She was great. She was great.
I will say nowadays, a lot of the SNL actors get Emmy nominations. I think that's relatively new. I don't remember too many SNL actors getting Emmy nominations
really good
back
to look
then.
up.
I never looked it up. I don't think Jan Hooks, maybe she's nominated for 30 Rock because she did a guest spot on 30 Rock as Jenna's mother. But Jan Hooks was always so good on SNL. Always. But she's the tour guide. She ad-libbed most of her lines.
Oh, did she? Really? Yep. Good for her.
There are, there are 1,000 uses for corn that I'm going to tell you about right now.
And his expression during that whole thing is so friggin' funny.
Because he does the right thing where he's like, I'm not going to go through this tour. Where's the basement? And he's like, where's the bed? And she's like, let's save the questions till the end of the tour. Okay, thank you. Oh my God, she's so good.
She's so good, and oh my God, he's so good and during all of that.
Big cameo that you may not have caught. The biker gang.
I did
Anybody
not
look familiar?
No.
The biker mama is her name in the credits, is Cassandra Peterson, who is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That's so fun.
She's the one who says, I say you let me have him first.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. So funny.
No, one of my favorite lines. I say we let him go.
No. Yeah. So good. So good.
So, and yes, very, like I wrote again, very, very Tim Burton at times during the dream sequences and things like that, for sure.
And then, so I will say the speaking of the slowing of the down,
The slowing of the
the
down.
slowing down of things, I thought the tequila dance went on way too long. I was like, I thought it was cute.
That was cute. I forgot about it.
Because he was like, he went from table to table to the bar to this, to smashing things. Like,
you know,
it was long.
Yeah, it was long for the song. It
Yeah.
was, you know, it's like there's no real lyrics.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And then one of my favorite scenes was the pet store.
Mm-hmm.
The saving of the things, but
Yeah.
it was a little long again to me.
The pacing got weird, and but I do think it got some of its non-stopness back with that whole chase scene. But I loved so much the scene with the little boy and the nun, the actors.
Oh
when
my
he's like,
gosh!
You know, Jerry, I would love to, but someone keeps forgetting their cues. And she's like,
He's
look,
so
you little
funny.
brat, you know, and she's like this like Meryl Streepish type actress. And she's like, I don't have to put up with this, Jerry. I'll quit. I swear to God, I'll quit. And then it's like, okay, action. Goodbye, Mother Superior. And like they're like totally like being nice to each other. It is so damn funny. And then, without missing a beat, Pee-wee doing the right thing, like just because like it's that thing where it's like, oh my God, it's the damn bike. Because we would have said,
yes,
anyone would have said, just grab the fucking bike and run.
Yes.
And that's exactly what he does. He's like, puts on the nun outfit. He's right next to it. You inspired me too. I'm going to go start a paper route right now. And I'm going to be honest, through my middle-aged lens, I was so glad they did this. He stops the bike right outside, takes his nun outfit off and says, hi to his bike. And he says,
it's so sweet, right?
Did he say, I missed you? What does he say?
I don't know.
I'm here, or I'm back, or whatever. And it is so sweet. I'm like, thank God we had that one little moment.
Yes.
And then he just takes off, and the whole chase happens, which I found the chase to be very entertaining. And yeah, and then it picks her up right up again. It's like, as long as he's moved, maybe that's the difference.
That's
when
probably
he's
what it
moving.
Is. That's probably
the movie's
what it
moving.
Is.
When he stops and pauses in Texas, the movie slows down, and
Yes.
so but it's very, very entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. And I do love the whole movie.
Within a
movie. So funny.
James Brolin.
Hilarious. And Morgan Fairchild. I love how they just completely change who he is. Like, they're like...
PW. Yeah.
PW. And made me laugh so much. His cameo in it. Where he's so bad.
And he's mouthing the
words,
dialogue.
and he keeps looking at the camera. Accidentally. But it's so believable. Like, it's not too obvious.
You're right,
it's so believable that is how his cameo would be.
And they dub his voice.
And they dub his voice. I mean, it just gets better. That cameo gets better and better and better.
Funny. So funny. We glossed right over Twisted Sister.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah, Twisted Sister.
And what I did love is I loved how the whole gang... Almost everybody we meet, everybody,
I love that
shows
too.
back for the drive-in.
I love that part. That's
and
like
Dotty
so sweet.
Gets her dream
of
being with Pee-wee at the drive-in,
That's
and how
right.
cute that they're both on bikes. I mean, this movie, like
many little details.
Yes, that's I was just gonna say that.
Yep.
Someone really thought the details through, and
Definitely.
it is so nice. And it's nice to see the homeless guys that brought their boxes and like box seats,
Yes.
and they're so excited to meet this movie star.
Yep.
I mean. It all
and even Mickey,
is so sweet.
Mickey's there,
Yep.
and
the foot long.
The foot. He tries to give him
He's like,
a
thanks,
whatever a
Pee-wee.
knife or whatever it is.
Nice try, Pee-wee.
So funny.
Someone has a small role in this movie
Oh.
that went on to have a very iconic role in an Oscar-winning motion picture.
What? Let's hear
Darla the dog. So Darla in Pee-wee's Big Adventure was the pink dog from the pet store, I think. And because she's the one in the basket with Speck.
Okay.
Darla would go on to play Precious in The Silence of the Lambs in the Well.
What?
It's allegedly the same dog.
No way.
I Googled it twice because I was like, what?
What?
Darla the dog.
Wow.
Some little, do you have any more notes? I'm sorry.
I do not.
More Less or about the same as Ben?
So I loved this movie before. Really
Okay.
loved this movie before. I really loved it this time around, but I'm gonna have to say less because I do feel like that draggy part was really draggy.
Okay.
Like near, that last third. I'm not even gonna say the last third. It was like that because I liked the last eighth of it, right? With the new fake movie and all that, the chase and all that kind of stuff. But the time at the Alamo was just so draggy to me, and the Yvonne stuff was really draggy to me. So I didn't have I just feel like it has to be a little
Simone.
less. What did I say, Yvonne?
Yvonne.
Simone. Yeah.
What
about you, Brian?
I think it might be a little more. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And I did appreciate the thing about the dreams and how he inspired Simone. Like I said, I mean, that to me was the down part being when I was young. I didn't like all that. It was so draggy. But now being grown up, I appreciated it more. And again, a lot of the little details and Paul Reubens just being so funny.
So you're saying that I have a younger mentality than you do?
Perhaps. I agree, I'm agreeing with you. It is still a little slow. But I will say some little bits of trivia, nothing too much here, but some of the actors went on to be in Pee-wee's Playhouse. So John Paragon, remember the guy in the red armor that talks like this?
Oh, yeah.
He went on to be Jambi and Terry in Pee-wee's Playhouse. The Jambi is the genie.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then Terry, I think is that how you pronounce it? Is the little pterodactyl?
Yep.
Yeah. And then Lynn Marie Stewart was Mother Superior, the actress, and she became Miss Yvonne. So it's so funny because you said Yvonne. And then Phil Hartman, as we know, was the reporter and co-writer, and he went on to be Captain Carl. So yeah.
Did you notice in the credits he was credited as Wee Herman? Not Paul Reubens.
Loved it. I love that.
I know. I loved it too.
And I have a match game.
I also have a match game.
All right. I think. Did you go first last time? I'll go first.
Remember.
This is kind of tough, I'm going to be honest. So we went raunch.
Okay.
Well, Pee-wee had an X-rated sequel to this movie that very few people saw. It's called Pee-wee's Big Blank.
You gotta be a little more creative. I don't know how much time I have.
The X-rated version, Pee-wee's Big
Penis.
I wrote dick. It was either dick or orgy.
Oh yeah, I was trying to think of orgy would have been pretty good. Yep. I was trying to think of something a little bit almost like bike related too, but
funny.
Or like Tool, or I don't know, something like that. All right, I have my match game. So Pee-wee and Dotty got married and had a baby.
Cute.
Given his obsession with his bike, it wasn't a surprise that he named him blank.
Oh my God, Ding. I actually kind of think this wouldn't even be an awful name. I'm going to say it out loud.
Interesting. All right, so Pee-wee and Dirty. See, that would have been Dirty Dotty, no? Okay, Pee-wee and Dotty got married and had a son, and he named him...
Schwinn.
Oh my God, me too!
Oh my God! Was it between anything?
No, it just came right to me.
That's so funny. I was thinking, that's really funny. It's kind of a cute name, to be honest.
It is kind of a cute name. Schwinn.
Like Quinn, Schwinn. Nice,
yeah,
it's cute.
I don't know.
But, I was thinking, like, I got into, like, a BMX, like, thought. Like, BMX? Like, yeah.
Harley.
Oh, my God, Harley. Yeah.
But that's more, he's more like a bicycle. Is what he would get.
Well,
all right, that
was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. How did you watch it?
I had to watch it on Vudu. I thought it was streaming. Sorry. I swear it was streaming. Yeah. And so I did not get it from the library, which I usually do. And, I went to watch it, and it was not available, so I had to pay for it. But it was well worth $3.99.
Nice. Yeah, I did it on the library. But that... Yeah, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.